Hello, I'm Richard Raffan. This is the 11th of the Four Ways videos. Now, Four Ways is Mike Peace, Sam Angelo, Tomislav Tomašić and myself. And at the beginning of each month we post our response to a given project. And this month Mike decided that we would make a chess piece. So I made this pawn. And I haven't worked on this scale for some time and things went wrong. But you also see how I set about designing something like this as I go along and the various considerations which come into play. So I'd encourage you to watch the other three videos as well, because we're each going to be different, and the idea is to provide you with a range of different approaches and techniques to whatever project we're doing any particular month. So I've got a block of elm here which weighs 28 kilos, and I thought that'd be a bit heavy to drive with a 1-inch spur drive, so I've drilled a couple of holes, drew a line through the what I marked as the center, drilled a couple of holes so I can use my spur faceplate, and so those holes will go in there, and that should provide a much better drive than a spur drive. So my VL 150 lathe will swing 12 inches, 300 millimeters, which is just under 12 inches. And so for the moment I've got the end of the blank mounted on the spikes here, and the other end is just resting on the lathe. And so I'll jack that up and then get the tail center in, and then hope that the whole thing swings free on the lathe, but I shall know in a few minutes. So when I got to this end, I found that I could rest the blank on the rest, and I've rather lost where center is at the moment. Oh, there it is. Should have marked it earlier, and it's now just a question of easing this up until I can get the center in there. It's pretty dark now. That's what happens, is the other end has slipped out of the jaws, out of the chuck. There's going to be a bit of fiddling around here, but you can get the idea. Right, I've now got myself a crowbar underneath, which I hope will just, yeah, so is that enough? And I have a handle extension for this. And it rotates freely. Lock everything down and run it very slow. Unfortunately, I failed to record the initial cuts when the tool rest wouldn't fit under the spinning wood. The gouge I'm using is a 1-inch half round. It was actually made by Jerry Glazer in the 1980s, and it's not something I think you can buy now. Just a large shallow gouge, so I'm using just to the right of the nose of the tool. Right, so the worst of the squares are off. I need to get that flat down. And I'm starting to think now about which will be the top and the bottom. I did actually already think about that earlier. This is probably going to be the bottom, the tailstock end. So I'll just get some of the weight out of this in the middle, and then I can spin it a bit faster. So this bit is almost round, flat there. Now transferring to the continental gouge, now the rest can come up a wee bit, because I found I can get the broader edge on and get a better shaving off it. Running at about 500 RPM here. That is definitely round. Now I'm going to get rid of the rest of this. Go up a few revs. This is beginning to jump around a little bit because this is sap and that is heartwood, almost 50-50, which is yes, it would be nice to have been all heartwood or all sapwood, but it's extremely difficult to find a lump of wood, well for me anyway, this kind of size, 8-inch diameter, 200mm diameter. And this was growing 3 days ago. Well, the top half of the tree had been cut off. This was the stump, or part of the stump. Right, so still some flat there to go. A little bit flat up there. So having gone up to 750, I think I'll just come back a few revs. Something sounds a bit loose, so just tighten up the tailstock. Sounds better. What I'm considering now is which is going to be the top and which the bottom. Whilst I'm still doing that, I'll true up this end, the tailstock end. So what I have here is a detail gouge. I've measured it at 14.5mm diameter. I have no idea what that is in imperial. Just over 1/2 inch. Pretty long bevel, or was it? No, maybe not that long, about 35 degrees. So it's coming up nice and clean. Right, so this end is going to be the top, and I need to do the other end, and I'm thinking in terms of expanding a chuck into the base, and to turn that recess to be much easier at this end, and so I need to turn this around between centres. Well, I got to the other end and decided that rather than put this onto a 4-spur drive, it'd be better off gripping with a chuck, because I've got a chuck that kind of size. So first thing to do is to make this edge here square or even slightly dovetailed to go into a chuck. So skew chisel just peeling. And we'll come in with the detail gouge again on its side. So I want this section flat to or slightly undercut. Now the jaws are going to be opened, so I can cope with a small bit of a defect in the middle, but I'll probably want that again later, so I'll just reduce the amount of wood the tail centre goes into there, and then wind it in again, and I'll do that a couple of times, so I'm going so the whole of the surface is flat. That'll be all right. So here I am reversed. I've got this end, which is 160 diameter, 160 millimeters, just over 6 inches, and they're in some big dovetail jaws. The other end, just with the tail center up, as you can see, this end is about 7.5 inches, 180 millimeters. So the aim now is to true this up, and then I'm going to sink a hole into the end so I can expand the jaws inside. Oh, a little bit out of whack, so I might just true that up first. That's the 1 inch condenser gouge. Got to go all the way down, and probably means when I reverse it again, which I'm going to, I'll need to true it yet again. But a lot of the bounce here is because of the different densities of timber between the sapwood and the heartwood. Hanging on to the tool hard so that when the wood does come down, it doesn't kind of bounce the tool out of my hand. Not trying to push the tool into the wood, just let the wood come onto the tool. Hold the edge at the right angle to get a shaving. I haven't yet worked out how I'm going to get rid of the bit dead center once I've turned the recess for the chuck. Right, I need to set the diameter for the chuck, which is here. Now it can't come easily in from either side, but I can just hold the left side against the wood to get an idea of where I am. Right, so somewhere around there will be fine. That's for a 90mm chuck. And I need a shorter rest. And get right in there. I'm going to go in with my brand new square and scraper. Now the hand wheel is getting in the way, so I've got to come over the top of that. So the rest is about 1/2 inch above center height. It's about the worst that can happen. I want to go down probably about 20mm, 3/4 of an inch, so that when I come to remount it again, I can just rest all this on the chuck. And I've just realised I don't need any more than that space for the chuck jaws, which means I can leave a kind of decorative mound in the middle. So I can now do something with the kind of lump in the middle. This has to be taken down the dead center lot so that I can so that the base sits flat on its rim. So back to my big gouge. Turn and wind it in so that the cone's being forced into the wood. That away. Same again. Right, that's now well below the rim, so that's good. I'll just take a teeny bit more off. Still know where center is, and I can now kind of decorate, for want of another term, just round it over. Or maybe put beads on it. And the idea is to make it look vaguely decorative if anybody does pick it up. Right. That's that bit done. I'm not intending to sand this piece, so that will be that. So having done the first bit and leaving it, went off to lunch, and I thought, no, better just deepen this so that when I put the chuck in, the jaws go right in, and then I get a little bit of extra support from this shoulder here, and I've decorated up that, so that was just more of the same. Now I need to turn this around. This must still be weighing at least 20 kilos, I think. Certainly feels like it. So it goes back on the old center, and now I tighten up this end. Make sure the tail stocks tighten down. Out. Right, and we're good to go. Now I did do a very rough drawing. So there's going to be a ball on top. There's usually a kind of beady thing there, and then the shaft comes down to generally a beaded foot, and sometimes a little kind of bit here. So I'll just play that as I go. I'll just take this down a little bit more, and then so I'll reduce the diameter a little bit more here. Now this time I will be using the continental gouge. We have actually established what width this is. It's 30 mil. It's got a 25 millimeter flute, so it's a 1 inch millimeter flute. Rest a shade high. But the rest is still well above center, good inch above center, because it's a large diameter. And my comfort is the main thing. If I had the rest down at rest height, I'm going to be tilting the tool much more, which I don't really want. Just not very comfortable. So I'll start to round this anyway. Just to get some weight out of the whole thing. This is probably going to end up as a hat stand, so I want the sphere just over 6 inches diameter up here, and I can leave the point there and decorate with a few grooves on top, but really it'd be nice to just have it smooth, so I need to allow for the damage the cone is making into the wood, so I need to take off probably around 1/4 of an inch. I'll peel that down. One-inch skew. So that will be the sphere roughly, and cut that in with a parting tool just to mark it. And we'll have a beady type thing somewhere in here, so I'll allow a good mass for that for the moment. Not sure if I want it right up against the head or not. Try a little bit more speed. Rattles it too much at the moment. some more weight out down, halfway down. That's getting a bit far away from the rest for that tool, so we'll get the longer handle one out. There's a slightly longer fingernail, so I can't take quite the cut that I could with the other one. Get a bit more out of here before I turn the speed up a bit more. Alright, now I'm up to 800. You turned it RPM then. Get the rest in there a bit tighter. Detail gouge again. I'm steaming up. It's a very hot day and the glasses are steaming up, which partly accounted for that, and partly ineptitude with the scale. That needed to come down anyway in relation to that. In fact, it come down a bit more. Rest up for the skew. It's a 1-inch skew. I think I get this round next, and then I will slim that down in relation to that, and then I want the pillar here just going straight through, but at the moment that doesn't look too bad. The head could really be a little bit smaller in relation to the base. Right, I can have a go with my big old skew chisel. never done centre work on this scale, so it's all a bit of an adventure. Oh, yes, well, that was a good one. I was taking too much there. And just tried to ease the tool back a bit. I'll probably be better off using a gouge. Probably have used the gouge to get the basic shapes off. Maybe just use the gouge altogether. Now, getting rid of the... Oh, that was a really good ding. So I said I was going to have a smaller head. Yes, I am. Particularly spectacular catch, that one. So get rid of the evidence first. I haven't actually lost too much. Beginning to wish I hadn't said I was leaving this off the tool with no sanding. It might be changing. What's happened there? Okay, so there's a big chatter mark just there which you might or might not be able to see, so I've got to come back onto smooth wood, which is there, and then ride through the bump and across the dips. Looking too bad. I'm going to come up here and now I'd like to take that pillar which I have there on through, so I'll be using a skew when I find it. I want it on through. Maybe I'll go for a curve. I'll try the curve first, it might look better. That was a loose rest. a bead in here. Or a groove rather. Groove. That's right. Just tilting the tool over so I get a slicing cut to the edge with the wing of the tool. Something feels a bit odd in there. I've just got a little kind of lump there. And the hint of a cove makes more of an angle just there. Pressed down for a smaller diameter. Doesn't look very good. That's a bit rugged up there and also down in there. Bit more speed, we're up to 1100. just a little bit of torn grain up here, a few lines there. That would sand out with 80 grit, probably even 120 grit. I think, given my earlier catches and that I'm pretty well where I want to be, I'm not going to risk another shear cut. The lathe is just bouncing around a little bit too much. A gentle peeling cut. A peeling cut is not in on the radius. That's a scrape. Tools tilted up a bit. Little bit of a lump up the other side too. Just in there. That's going to be the really nasty job, is finishing off the top. And I will sand it, I'll give it a little bit of time to dry, so I'll come back in an hour or so and have a go at it. Remember, this was taking moisture out of the ground just 3 days ago. So in the end I sanded it more or less straight away, and seemed to go okay. So it's had 120 and 180, and that's more than enough for this kind of thing. And all that remains to do now is to cut away most of the end here, and then that gets finished off by hand, power sanding anyway. This is held in a chuck at the other end. So it'd be nice to get most of this off. Go! Just tweaked that with, just caught the edge of the tool there. Now this is going to get come off with a skew long point. There's not much to come off. Is 120 and some 180. So this has had wax as well as oil, and I hope that slows up the drying process, because this, as I've said before, was growing 3 days ago, and I'm really expecting it to split, although the pith isn't involved in this blank, but it is likely to split, and if it doesn't do that, it'll probably go very slightly oval. So if you've watched this far, thank you very much for watching, and please have a look at the other videos, the other 4-way videos, and see what Mike, Sam and Tommy have come up with.